Hello, I'm Reverend Sheridan Ullman, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to provide you with this year's report from the Conference Board of Trustees. I will start with a short update about the 2023 local church disaffiliations. I will then review the status of the trustees' reserves and describe how they are being used to support local church ministries. Two legal updates will then complete my report. Paragraph 2553 is the provision within our Book of Discipline that provided local churches the opportunity for disaffiliation from the United Methodist Church over issues related to human sexuality. In accordance with that statute, there were 23 local churches in our conference who were approved to disaffiliate at last year's annual conference as long as they completed all terms of the disaffiliation before December 31st, 2023. Each of these churches were given the opportunity to select one of three disaffiliation dates. 6 churches completed their terms of disaffiliation on July 31st, 8 disaffiliated on September 15th, and 5 on October 31st. There were an additional 4 churches that delayed their disaffiliations until December due to a variety of reasons and complications involved with the process. Under the terms of these disaffiliations, the conference trustees received payments of $9.6 million for property payments. These payments were based on 50% of the tax-assessed value of the property involved. These payments are estimated to be 15 to 20% of their market value. The Board of Pensions received pension withdrawal payments that totaled nearly $1 million that will be applied to the pension reserves of the conference. The disaffiliating churches also paid 12 months of mission shares each for a total of $602,000. These funds are being applied to the 2024 annual conference budget. The trustees thank the Chancellor and the Finance Office staff for the hours of dedicated effort that was involved with processing all 23 local churches that were approved for disaffiliation by the annual conference in June 2023. The property payments received from disaffiliations increased the trustee reserves to $22.5 million when combined with the proceeds from the sale of closed churches. $6 million of this is dedicated to urban ministries in accordance with the Book of Discipline. The Cemetery Foundation, established in 2021, is now appropriately funded at $2.6 million for the long-term care of the conference historic cemeteries. Since 2019, the conference trustees have been applying up to 5% of these reserves toward new church starts and the Unified Funding Task Force. To ensure transparencies as these funds have been allowed to accumulate for the long-term support of local church ministries through annual conference grants, this spending is being fully accounted for in the conference budget and financial performance results. Starting in 2019, the amount applied to the conference budget was $200,000. That has now risen to $722,000 in the 2025 budget proposal, while still maintaining additional capacity as a 5% draw would be in excess of $1 million. Major projects that have used funds from the closed church sale reserves include Resurrection Sandtown in the Baltimore Metropolitan District, the Affordable Housing Initiative in Greater Washington, the Solomon's Island Mission Center in Washington East, and most recently, the New Hope Christian Fellowship in Baltimore Suburban. The missional action planning process provides the path for prioritizing the future spending of these collected funds. We are blessed to have these reserves in place to support the local church ministries that are identified through this planning process. To complete the reporting of the reserves that are managed by the conference trustees, I also provide this listing that includes the parsonage reserves of $519,000. These reserves were accumulated from the sale of the district parsonages, and they partially support the housing allowance for the district superintendents today. The Mission Center building reserves are $739,000, and they are in place for supporting future maintenance and repairs of the Mission Center. The trustees also manage the conference loan endowment that supports loans and grants to local churches. There are currently $2.4 million of loans held by local churches. There is $1.7 million available for new loans to churches. The current rate is 4.5%, and the interest paid by churches under the loan endowment are made available as grants to local churches. The grant balance now stands at $226,000. The last reserve that I have to report on is the $1.1 million in managed bequests that has grown considerably in the last 2 years from the receipt of 2 large bequests. I now have 2 quick legal updates to share with the annual conference before completing this report. We reported to the last annual conference that a complaint was filed by 38 local churches against the Baltimore-Washington Conference, the conference trustees, and Bishop Easterling in March 2023. The complaint is related to the disaffiliation process within the conference, and it is continuing to be heard in the Anne Arundel County Circuit Court. During the course of this year, there have been a few churches added to the case, while at the same time there were also a few withdrawals. The complaint currently lists 37 churches. As a tangential matter, the litigation has also influenced new legislative efforts during the 2024 session to repeal the Maryland statutes that support the United Methodist Church Trust Clause. This was viewed as an unfortunate action and fallout from the disaffiliation process. Regarding the Boy Scouts bankruptcy, the new updates from last year's annual conference are shown in red. The conference made the $1.38 million payment in July last year to support the settlement trust. It is also of note that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on February 22nd of this year to let the settlement proceed. These updates are significant as it now appears there is a clear path for the survivors of abuse to have their complaints appropriately heard as part of the settlement process. On behalf of the Conference Board of Trustees, I thank the Bishop and the annual conference delegates for allowing me to address you today as we bring forth this report. Thank you.